On today's episode, we step so far back in time, we nearly miss a step. We head back to the rise of the modern man. But what is the rise of modern man? Put simply, the rise of modern man is the spread and development of Homo-sapiens. Modern man wiped out all other types of man, of which there was a large number of, essentially because modern man was more efficient and bloodthirsty. It's a good example of Charles Darwin's theory of the survival of the fittest. So how was this possible for them? At the end of the last ice age, about 10,000 BCE, Homo sapiens were holding on by their fingernails to survive. There were probably less than 1 million specimens on the entire globe. But as the ice retreated due to improving climatic conditions, numbers started to tick up. These hunter-gatherers had one job every day: collect at least 2,000 calories per person per day, but preferably 2,500 for the men and boys during the hunting of the animals. There were of course other chores to keep modern man busy, from keeping the home fires burning, looking after the young and those unable to protect themselves. They had to treat and fashion the skins of hunted animals into wearable robes to keep them warm. The tool makers made bones into spear and arrowheads and used flints for the same purpose, as well as scraping and shaping the furs of their prey. A lot of the home-based chores were carried out by the women of the extended family or small tribe. They also had to collect firewood, berries, fruit and nuts. If they were operating on the seashore, collecting shellfish as well. The world was indeed a whole new world then, with years of harsh climates, harsh weather and tough terrain along with predators and limited agricultural options. Modern man lived meal to meal, and all of the tribe or group focused on this. 40,000 years ago, modern man was a ruthless, efficient hunter, and heck, he had to be so they could survive. This is evident as 40,000 years ago, large mammals like the mammoth began to decline in numbers wherever reasonable numbers of man were. Mammoths could provide 1 metric ton of meat and bone, a feast for survival. With a series of ice ages, Earth was not an easy-going place to live. But Ice Age had a pretty chilled benefit. They locked up vast quantities of water in ice sheets and glaciers, which lowered the sea levels by as much as 350 feet. This benefit had the effect of creating land bridges, allowing modern man to spread. This means that even 10,000 years ago, modern man was able to migrate in search of food and potentially easier terrain and climates. However, the silver lining was met with a disappointing fact that the average temperature even then was 10 to 12 degrees lower than present day. These land bridges now made new parts of the world accessible and connected Siberia to Alaska, the Arabian Peninsula to Africa, Malaya to Borneo, Korea to Japan, New Guinea to Australia and the British Isles to Europe. Now that's pretty impressive land bridges, all thanks to the Ice Age. Yet, 40,000 years ago, man was decimating mammoth numbers. This was not the case in the North or South America at the same time. Why? Because it was not until roughly 12,000 years ago, a temperature corridor opened up in the ice sheet covering what is now Canada and the northern United States, which allowed the relatively few modern men operating in Alaska to move south to the untouched hunting grounds in the southern United States, Central and South America. Spreading across the earth, modern man slowly evolved, becoming more civilised. To become civilised, they had to advance and develop, and the requirements for this is through 5 key features of life. Number 1. Man needed a surplus of food which does not require everyone to produce it. If not, everyone has to focus on obtaining every meal. This frees people up to do other people needed to live beyond the basic need of focusing on consuming calories. The group, tribe, needs to have discovered a very simple form of agriculture to supplement their hunting and gathering. Being able to spread out means they were able to find different food to grow, different climate to harvest, and the presence of animals to hunt. So taking a walk into pastures new seemed like a pretty good idea. Number 2. With the ability to cross land bridges, man is able to find a reasonable climate to live in, allowing them to practice hunting without battling the weather and seasons, but allow them to work around it in more hospitable conditions. Number 3. Access to good fresh water supply. This is pretty damn vital and would be a key feature of man taking a walk to find somewhere new. Having fresh water to drink for good hygiene and sanitation would have been important for modern man. Over time, we learn new techniques and better understanding. This would have been true for modern man having the knowledge of how to preserve food and store it, evolving and becoming civilised. They would have learnt that smoking and salting food, for example fish and meat, after slaughter would allow them to keep it for a somewhat longer before they expired and became dangerous to consume. With grain from their crops, fruit and vegetables they gathered, they would have had devised somewhere cool and dry to store them. Number 5. And finally, creating preventative measures to ensure neighbours didn't steal their surplus. A surplus is anything saved for another day, and hopefully several days thereafter. To have a surplus of anything is advantageous and helps to develop the notion of being civilised. For a more settled existence, control of fresh water 24/7 was critical, and if the climate was temperate, they could live by a river. This access to fresh water in never-ending quantities in a good climate leads to agriculture. The domestication of animals and grains led to the eclipse of hunting and gathering as the only method of feeding the tribe. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Rise of Modern Man. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and watch our next episode.